And hello, everyone, and welcome to our triumphant series tonight. As always, the purpose behind it is to raise awareness. This is our awareness series, in which we present different amazing people who had, in some form or another, experienced the burnout syndrome and are courageous and also brave enough to talk about it, to share different strategies and coping mechanisms and also lessons that they have learned, hoping to help others who experience the same thing and maybe provide a platform or a room for understanding in order to see that there is a room for improvement and a way out. So my guest tonight, Boris, hello and welcome. As you probably most of you know him, but for those of you who don't, he's the founder of 356 Labs, premium presentation agency.
Yep.
Am I right? Yes. And also, they currently organized, I believe it's safe to say, the largest.
Very easy.
Yes. Premium presentation event in the world.
Yep.
I will give you in a moment time an opportunity to explain more about that, and also PowerPoint MVP.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome.
Thanks for having me for a second time. No one knows the story, but let's keep it there.
Okay.
Let's keep it there. This is our second interview, so yeah.
Yeah. Can you please tell us a bit more about, especially Present to Succeed, and why 356 Labs?
Let's start with the other one. The 356 Labs is because I'm a huge fan of the brand Porsche. And the brand Porsche, the first model, official model, I would say, of the car manufacturer is actually 356. And so it's very important model because of the simplicity, that the simplicity of the design. Plus, what I recently found out is that actually each and every 356 that was built was custom built for each and every owner.
Nice.
Which is very much what we at 356 Labs are doing. We strive for extreme simplicity in the designs and everything that we do, of course. And obviously, everything that we're doing is custom built for that specific customer or client, or no matter how you want to call it, right? So the labs, the second part of the name comes from the experiment, from the testing, from the new ideas, from pushing the limits of our own industry, which is the presentation industry. And so when I checked that name, 356labs.com, it was free. And so after trying every single other name possible that was booked, I decided that, well, I found one. So that one works. It's very close to me. It really represents how I want this company to think and how I want it to behave. And so that's how it started. In regards to the conference, the Present to Succeed event, the Present to Succeed event is something that started as a side project last year during the
nice side project.
Yes, it turned out to be a very nice side project, I would say. We started seriously, that, like, jokes set aside, that was a side project for us. We had this idea from very, very long time, like from probably at least 2 years, and we were constantly, should we do it? Should we do it? Okay, let's do it next year. Okay, let's do it next year again. So we were constantly leaving that behind and delaying this project. And at the end, COVID hit, and we were hit, of course, as every other, you would say, marketing, creative type of business and training type of business, because we also deliver quite some trainings for our customers. And so that freed up some time for ourselves, and we were like, okay, the conference now makes sense. After I saw some things, it made sense to me for us to build it. It made sense to the market, I think, because it's a very, very, I would say, affordable way to learn at scale from some of the best minds in the world. And so, a side project that ended up with more than 3,200 tickets sold across more than 53 countries. For 2 days, we more or less brought in some of the brightest minds in the storytelling world, the presentation design world, I have to say, and the public speaking world. So sponsors like Microsoft, Adobe, Canva, you name them. And so, for 2022, we are planning something way bigger.
Okay, fantastic. More information about the event itself and also 356 can be found in the description below. So moving on now, because I'm really interested, I believe our audience will be also, what is PowerPoint MVP means?
PowerPoint MVP means simply that you're one of the very few people that has a very exclusive award provided by Microsoft that doesn't allow you to do nothing more special, but to give to have access to the so-called PG or product group, meaning these are the people that actually write and code PowerPoint, meaning the developers and the engineers, the program managers, etc. These are the people that truly write the software. The main idea for you to have access to them is to be able to throw in ideas at them, to be able to ask them to ask you for feedback, right? So we more or less shape the MVPs of each and every Microsoft's product, actually shape that product for the future based on the feedback that they get from us. And also one other cool thing is that we can very easily report problems and issues. Our problems and issues are being considered as a little bit more important than everyone else's, I would say. And once per year, back before the COVID times, we were asked and we were invited to Microsoft in Redmond, in Seattle, to go there for 1 week of intensive sessions with more or less every single person that touches the product. That didn't happen in the last 2 years, but to be honest, I'm very happy with that. The fact that I don't have to travel to the US is a pleasure. I cannot be more happier. Don't ask why.
But you're still MVP, right?
That's true. Yes, indeed.
Okay, joking aside, now, Bobby, I know that prior to your interest in presentation and also presentation skills, you were on a bit different road. Yep. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I was in the IT space. So I was doing databases and more concretely SQL Server. This is the enterprise-grade product of Microsoft for database solutions. And so, yeah, I was doing databases at, I would say, very high level, meaning I, of course, started as everyone else that should and want to start in this field. In the case of database administrators, they always start in the support field, meaning support requests from customers. From there, I went to the project side of things, meaning building the projects, figuring out, wait a minute, this customer has this request, I need to understand the business case, and from there propose a solution, meaning more or less now you're moving to something that's design architecture, right? And then you give that architecture to someone else to implement, right? You have done this already. The implementation is now becoming the easier part. The design and architecture and how this solution that's otherwise very complicated should be built is now your role. This is the next level. And then I really always wanted, for some reason, to be a consultant. And for me, a consultant is someone that's being thrown at the fire without any information and goes and just fixes it without any issues. No matter what the situation is, no matter what the case is, no matter where it is, etc. You just go there and fix it very, very quickly, and everyone is at awe, right? Like, wow, what happened? So I ended up being in that place a few years afterwards for a company, a Bulgarian company, by the way, which is called Bulpros, that grew exponentially afterwards. I think many people know who Bulpros is, especially if you are in Bulgaria, and not only, to be honest, but if you operate in Europe, probably in the IT world, you know Bulpros. And from there, there was this moment in time when 356 Labs happened. But as an IT person, I will say you are right. I was mixing the IT expertise with presentation skills, and that allowed a lot of doors for me to open very, very quickly compared to any other way. Because if you just try and push yourself to be a technical master guru or just an expert in that field, you will grow in your career guaranteed. It's just way slower compared to if you are quite good in the technical world, but you're also very good in communication.
Definitely.
If you have to choose, if an employer has to choose between, that's my opinion only, okay, so don't want to push that as the only truth. If an employer has to choose between a really high-level expert in an area and a really good expert in an area, but a great communicator, I mean, there is no question, I would say, who, and again, this is just my opinion, and there are some exception cases, of course, but normally they would always go for the latter. The main reason is that it's just very rare to find someone like that. And so that's the case. And from there, 356 Labs happened more or less by coincidence.
Oh, how that coincidence developed?
The coincidence happened because every single time when I was presenting across the world, almost every single time, there was somebody who was asking me, like, how do I do my presentations? why do I do this thing? Why do I do that thing, etc.? And so I was always very open to share those things. Haven't hidden anything from the way I approach presentations back then in the technical world. Not that I do it right now, to be honest, in our work. And every single time when I was doing this, there was one particular time just before I decided to move from BullPros, where I did a webinar for some of our colleagues in the US. And after this webinar, one of these guys that was part of this webinar shot me an email that he actually presented at the conference. His boss saw him actually presenting very, very well. And so he asked him afterwards to present a new solution in front of a potential customer. They won the customer. So they won the deal. Because they won the deal, they actually promoted him. And so there were some other emails that, hey, we tried this, what happened, etc., etc. And in this moment, I was like, wait a minute. I was always so curious about business and about marketing, about sales. I actually studied to do bachelor. I studied in 2 programs when I was back then in the new Bulgarian university. One was the IT and the other one was business administration. I was just curious about that. Like, I really wanted to see how it works behind the scenes and what is my position in a large organization, like what's going on, like how is work coming to me, like what happens before that and what happens after I deliver my work. So in order for you to get the full picture, and so at this point when I saw that there were so many people that were just saying, hey, that makes sense, I did it, I tested it worked, I said to myself, wait a minute, I am so passionate about that stuff. Why don't I try and convert that into a business? And so I didn't left BullPros. I just started saving money on the side. But in my free time, I was pushing a little bit of effort for 356 Labs, and slowly but steadily it grew to 12 people today. So, yeah.
Great. Actually, it's really interesting industry because it's not you're more or less re-educating, or at least at the beginning. I believe even
up until now.
Re-educating the public and actually the business world about the importance of presentation skills. I believe I remember you told me that there are like, I don't know how many presentations given in a day, PowerPoint presentations, and the quality is safe to say garbage.
If you look at the data will tell you that like the latest research on that topic was in 2006, and back then in 2006, Microsoft, with collaboration with another organization, actually reported 1.25, so 1,025,000. Wait a minute, what is it? 1.25 million presentations per hour. Globally, per hour, just the PowerPoints. Just the PowerPoints, not the keynotes, the prezzies, the Google Slides, the pitch.coms, nowadays the new modern tools, etc. So if you look at how the world developed from 2006 up until now, I don't have the data to back my statement up. I would just guess that the number is way higher. If you take the numbers that Microsoft reported for Microsoft Teams when the COVID pandemic hit, they were talking about something like, I'm not sure about exactly the number, but I think they were talking about 30 million daily active users. That's not to say that 30 million are doing presentations, but you can imagine it's quite some of those guys. And so every single time when we ask our trainees and attendees of our trainings, how in percentage, what do you think of those 1.25 million presentations were effective, right? We ask our students, you will be stunned how many people say less than 5%. By the way, I completely agree with that. But the problem is that it's not me that's saying that. It's every business person out there that all across the world more or less says less than 5%, which is wow.
Wow.
It's bad.
Re-educating the industry.
It's bad. And that's, by the way, very hard stuff, as you know.
So moving on more or less to the topic we're here tonight. When did you first, because I wanted to start a little bit prior to the event itself, in order to give some context to the and see the event in a more broader, not as a separate thing, but actually part of a bigger picture going on at the time. So in your opinion, looking at it now, when do you can say that you started to feel the first symptoms or the the first actually signs that something was off in your, let's say, working behavior or work ethic?
I think that the first few years of every business of every company or every idea, what have you, are very rough. Or people, or at least I have done them, or I have made them very rough for myself. Probably, I don't know. But if I have to be honest, probably it was between the second and the third year. Probably, if I have to kind of navigate back in the past, because it was just more or less everything. Like the work itself is the only thing that you do constantly without any stop for weeks and months and Saturdays and Sundays and from mornings till the end, till the late hours, etc. So I proud myself probably in a way that I can go very long line and push tremendously and extremely. But I think that it was the third year or the third, I don't know, probably third or fourth year when things started to go off. Like just I felt very frustrated with almost everything, like constantly super nervous. I was not feeling well at all, even though I was doing sport. If I have stopped doing sports, I don't even know what was going to happen to me. But the fact of the matter is that it more or less, I don't know, probably a lot of things happened, meaning a lot of work went through me. I have done a lot of things. I wasn't stopping at all. And so at some point I said to myself, okay, Christmas is coming. So because I just felt that I don't feel right. I just don't feel right anymore. It's stupid for me to say it's okay. I can move on with the same tempo and same speeds. I just said to myself, okay, when the 23rd of December comes, I'll just close my laptop and never open it again up until the 2nd or the 3rd of January or whatever. And so that's what I did. To be honest, that's what I did. And it was the 31st. I will never forget that. It was the 31st of December, around probably 4 o'clock, 4 p.m.
New Year's Day, right?
Yeah, New Year's Day, at around 4 o'clock, when my girlfriend actually cooked a very nice pizza. We were in our kitchen when I took some of the pizza, I ate it, it was fabulous. And I said wait, there is something wrong with me. I don't feel right. And so I decided to move from the kitchen table to the bedroom, but I didn't got to the bedroom. So that was the moment when I realized that now something is completely off. After I woke up, of course, I understood that something is very much off, and probably I don't know why that happened, meaning why I collapsed for 2 minutes or something, but I think that it was just that very hard stop, from just the tremendous push, constant push of just go and do more, to going in the other opposite, like that. And probably that's my way of thinking, and that's what happened. And after that, I have experienced it obviously in the next few days. Again, when the work started again, I was traveling with the tram. Again, I felt very, very bad, almost collapsed in the tram. And so, that was the moment when I said to myself, okay, I cannot even get to the office anymore. Like that, even though I love what I do, I need to change something, because even if I want to do it, I can't, because I cannot get to the office physically.
Let alone work.
So that made me rethink a lot of, I don't know if there are a lot, but quite some things in my approach to how do I work, what do I do, how much do I do, all of those things. And I don't want to go back, to be very honest. So if I was able to turn the time back, to return the back to whatever year it was and kind of fix this, I'm always going to go back and fix it, because of that thing that happened back then. I went through so many doctors and everything. Now I have this noise in my ears, which I cannot remove. And I now am living with that stuff. And I went through everybody, and everyone, even one of the most prolific doctors in that area, told me, forget about it. That's not possible. The only option you have is to not think about it. And I was like, sure. All right.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's it. And I really want that to disappear, And if I was able to go back,
For sure.
I just want to. I don't like that.
Yeah. Maybe the price of the lesson. I don't know.
Maybe I just don't want to go back there
Yeah.
again whatsoever, and I don't want to see what's next, because everything is scary, I think.
What's next? Meaning, should you continue that approach that you had
Like,
back then?
how much more consequences you would have, like if you try to push even harder and you don't learn the lesson out of that, what's going to happen next? Because I think that there are next phases of you going even, like your health could probably go in even worse condition.
No, definitely. We even had an interview coming up with a lady who had moved forward, and it's really not a nice place to be. So the consequences can be, but let's not talk about it.
I don't even want to know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But this is actually quite common with the hard stop, because from most of the interviews we do and the cases we've read about and studied, it's really common pattern in when they usually the stress and the effort put in the work actually mobilizes the body and it keeps it focused. And when you stop, it gives a signal at least to rest, and then the immune system is collapsing immediately, and the nervous system is not collapsing immediately. I'm obviously exaggerating, but that really decreases its functions, and that's why the collapses are something that is quite common, actually. Also, people usually get sick or catch a cold right after a big event or a project when they have completed, even though successfully. The backlash of this is actually emotional, even withdrawal, sometimes depression, or even more physiological symptoms and conditions as well. So what did you do afterwards to, let's say, start the process of recovery? Probably you first needed to go through some phases of discovery before recovery.
I think the discovery phase was obvious. I mean, for myself, I even said it a few months afterwards to my mother, who found out that happened, because I didn't want to bother her with stuff like that. So I told her that it's obvious that I need to change, exactly as I told you. Like, the fact that I cannot even get to the office tells you, hey, come on, there is another way. There should be another way. Like, let's calm down and find that way. So in my case, well, I think I have done well, or at least help me improve. Let's put it this way, because if you're asking me, even up until today, there are things that I could improve even further. That's guaranteed. I feel it, I sense it every single day, that I still push, but I always remind myself, okay, stop, right? There is a moment where I just say to myself, okay, that was it for today. I know I feel like I have the power, I have the emotional power and willingness to do something, but I'm like, forget about it. I'm not going to stay up until whatever hour to again just do emails or presentation, whatever it is, So in my case, it was a mixture of things, which are, if I have to kind of categorize them in one way or the other, I was seeing experts in that area. So I asked for consultations with some people, which was, I think, one of the normal things that people do. That's one of the things. The other thing was that I said to myself, okay, let me focus a lot on the sports and everything that I'm doing in regards to my fitness. That one played a huge role, I would say, because I hired a personal trainer to work with me. Best investment ever I have ever done. Up until today, I train with him, so best investment ever. Seriously. And then I also said to myself, okay, just sleep more. I mean, come on, that is completely obvious. So you probably will have, it will be very hard for anyone here that's listening, watching this as a recording, etc., to find me awake after 11:30. That will be an exception to the rule, truly. Like, it will be very hard for you to find me after those hours, no matter whether or not it's a party somewhere or something like this. This could be it could happen, but it will be an exception to the rule completely. So these three things, if I go back, I would say help me go back to normal or a little bit to the better world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
By the way, I haven't done any, like nothing like that happened to me since then. So I
that's
think I'm fine.
that's my next
it happened
question.
just once, and from there, based on the actions that I took, it never happened again.
And did it sharpen your sensitivity, let's say in areas that you feel that it's starting to happen again, and you stop really soon? So
I was getting close to it again after on the next year, but I understood it very quickly. Like it was very obvious that this is going to happen. I had a saying with my girlfriend, which is, it's coming from Counter-Strike, the game, and so you know how in the game you have your blood is whatever percentage, So I was like, when those moments were coming, I was telling her I feel like I just have 1% of blood remained in me. Whoa. And she was like, again, and I'm like, yeah. And that was the moment when I was saying this, I was like, okay, it's over. Enough. And that was like preventive, like very proactive from my side to say, okay, we're getting there again. That's not cool. Let's stop very quickly, because otherwise nothing cool will happen. Will follow.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, the body is quite smart in giving signals way before.
Yeah. I think so. I think so too.
At least that the research says, and all the people that I've interviewed, most of them even didn't have the wisdom as you do right now. They, especially the ones that have, even with myself, I've experienced it twice, and the second time was actually way harder than the first time. And also going back now, even months before, or at least weeks before it happened, I knew what was going on, and I can tell. But I just pushed it. Continued. And I decided to power through, and I powered through it big time. With 3 months recovery afterwards. But now I'm really sensitive to it as well. So what are, in terms of, because I've mentioned wisdom, what lessons have you learned or since that event?
To be honest, I don't know like what the lessons would be. I would say that it's very strange to me when nowadays I hear that saying that it's still. I recently heard it again in a podcast, by the way, but in a good way, that people should stop thinking of, hey, I need to be proud of myself that I got to this point. That's stupid, like I would, if I knew that this is going to happen to me and this is something that I will cause to my closest people and to my girlfriend to see me down on the floor for 2 minutes without moving, I would never do that. That's stupid. Why would you want to do that? Like that's okay, let me not use very brutal words here. That's stupid. So one of the things that I would say is that it's very strange to me when I see someone just being proud of achieving that. I have never chased anything like that. I don't think that I have to feel proud that I achieved a collapse, I think that I need to feel proud because of the conference, but not because I achieved a collapse in front of somebody, so in terms of that, I think that that's one of the things that it's not exactly a lesson, but I would say an insight. Shift of perceptions. In regards to everything else, I think that it's in regards to the lessons that I learned, that's what probably my actions were the lesson. So what I took from the experience, I converted into lessons learned, and I just applied the action afterwards. So I would say that everything that I have done afterwards was my lessons learned, and that's how I followed with like very consistent actions. Like I'm very consistent in the sports that I do. I'm very consistent in the way I sleep. There is no, like, except for very, very, very few cases, I would say that I'm very, very consistent in those things. And I believe they are helping me out tremendously.
Great. Actually, really cool topic that, not so much cool, but rather important topic that you mentioned, like, especially in these days, it's kind of the burnout began to be viewed as a certificate or stamp of achievement or some medal to be worn and shown to the world. Like it's, a medal
Yeah.
to some sense, or a reward trophy. Actually, it's nothing like that. It does not need the sacrifice. And also another thing is, you mentioned the other people involved.
Yeah.
Because it's not just you, it affects the other closest people to you, and
Yep.
you mentioned your girlfriend and the people you loved. Why bother to go there if the consequences are
I would
such?
say, back to your question, like if I have to go back and say, okay, well, lessons learned, and I need to analyze the situation, if I analyze very carefully what happened and what we achieved, let's say in the first 3-4 years when this happened, I can probably seriously say that even though we achieved whatever we achieved, we're a small company, 12 people, it's a very niche industry. You can say, wait a minute, that's a very decent team or whatever, or someone will say that's a small team. Yeah, I mean, it is a team. It is a team. That's it. So that's what we have done. However, I would say that probably even if I have approached my life better back then and going with a little bit of a slower tempo, I think that the results that we achieved as an organization wouldn't have been worse. I think, which is even worse for me, by the way, that they could probably be better.
Yes.
And the reason why I'm saying this is because every single time when I get to a place where I just feel exhausted, right? Exhausted, I wake up and I feel very, very bad. And I don't want to see a computer. I don't want to work. There are places where there are moments when you are like so tired that you don't even want to go anywhere, that you don't even want to see anybody, that you don't want to open your email, etc. These moments, I think I have missed a lot of opportunities there, and so if I was in a better health and in a better shape overall, now physical and mental and everything, I think that I could have been even more productive than I was before, which is a missed opportunity by itself.
Definitely. This is a really important topic also, and we have a lot of studies to back this up on an organizational level, even yearly results, because they measure it on a yearly basis, not counting the consequences in terms of what will happen to these people after a year. Are they going to have a recovery periods and so forth? Even yearly, if the tempo of the development or this push in relaxed state is not optimal, but even so, if the tempo is balanced and well organized, even not considering the health of the people, because it was not the main focus, the productivity is far superior than if they're pushed beyond limit. Because this is really maybe in shorter terms, let's say for a month or quarter basis, it could have some effects. But even in that case, I don't believe that it will produce greater result if the people are calm, relaxed, and focused. And okay, let's not use the word happy, but let's use the word calm and focused. For sure, the results will be greater, because the nervous system works that way. It's optimal when you're calm, not when you're stressed out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if, when I'm hearing you saying this a month or a quarter, this is quite some time. So, if you have this experience or any similar experience for 3 months in a row, like every single day in a row, that will be a lot. That'll be a lot.
Right. So it doesn't make sense, not on on a personal level, for sure it does not make sense, but on a business and performance wise, again, it does not make sense.
Yeah, that's why we are always pushing ourselves also in the company to, like, we probably are, I don't know, I don't want to sound like this, but we're probably one of the very few companies that really push our employees to not work overtime, which is, I'm not saying that it's not happening, right? But our intent is to never allow them to work overtime. We plan and organize our work, and we accept client projects or whatever in such a way that there is no overtime for anybody. Of course, it happens from time to time, sure, yes, but our intent is to never allow them to work overtime, because I just believe in exactly what you're saying, and I believe that if they constantly work overtime, at some point they will say, "Screw this up. Come on, like, this is not sustainable for us also, like, we are not going to be able to keep those people if that constantly happens, and it won't be about any other compensation. At some point, money doesn't really matter at all. So if you are constantly stressed out for months and months and years, you don't care how much money you get or which company you work for. at some point you will just say, that doesn't make sense anymore. Like, I don't feel right
Definitely.
here.
Great. So if anyone watching, for everyone watching, wants to send a CV, should it
We're searching for a designer. So
designer? Okay.
I'm not joking.
Bobby's contacts are in the description, so feel free to approach him directly with your CV and should I say portfolio? Or?
Yeah, of course. That, by the way, doesn't mean, and it shouldn't mean, I think, that you shouldn't expect from your employees, especially in an organization like ours, to try and push themselves to be the best they can be, right? That's a completely different story. I mean, I told you right now when I was talking to you before the interview that we just published a creative on social media initially that was against who we are.
Oh, such a nice way to put it.
Yeah, that's against who we are. Our mission in our company is to create and deliver presentation services and products that no one can match. So the way we decide whether or not this thing works is this presentation that we created, can somebody that you know, right, match it? If it's a yes, we need to rethink it. If it's a no, then it's us, right? So every single time, that's why I'm trying to push our people to think this way is, hey, when you create a creative or a visual for social media, can someone match that? If it's a yes, then you need to rethink it. If it's a no, then probably it's our creative. That's us, right? And what we published was nothing like it was not even close to us. And for some reason, it got published. And I immediately wrote them, that's not us. Like, keep it there, but you need to demand more of yourself, right? That's not who we are, right? That doesn't mean that they don't have to leave the office at 6 or 6:30 or whatever, even though we have flexible working time. Everyone is coming at 10, at 30, at 11, at 10:30, at 9:30, at 8, whatever. I don't care about that. The fact that you have to deliver world-class level is a completely different story. It doesn't have to be mixed with the how many hours do I work or whatever.
Yeah, it's not a substitution for high standard.
Yeah, of course, this is again, as with online presentations nowadays. In online presentations, one of our colleagues actually said it very well. A lot of people consider online as an excuse for lower quality. What a quote, that when every single time when I say it to our corporate customers, I was in training today, I say to them, you see how like there is a little frustration, but that competitive frustration in them saying, of course, like, come on, let's be better, right? Especially if the organization is an ambitious one. Like, don't accept online for an excuse for lower standards or lower quality. That's not how it goes. It can be better. It could be on the level of the in-person. It has its pros, it has its cons, but it can be really, really professional, really, really premium experience, right? It could be.
Definitely, yeah. It's just a medium.
It's just another medium, and we need to figure out that medium and its specifics. That's it.
Nice. Not to get carried away. Any word of advice to anyone who is watching, probably recognizing him herself in the story?
In which area are we going here? In the health area?
Health area. Let's focus on the health.
I don't know whether or not that will be probably the best advice for that show. Let's try it out. Jokes aside, again, probably the best advice that I was recently asked, what would I change if I can go back 10 years? Those type of questions. And I really said that if I knew earlier the difference between working out yourself and working out with a good trainer, I'm saying good because there are a lot of trainers that are not that good. I would always hire a trainer earlier. Always. That's one thing. That's regarding health, and we can incorporate it somehow in the overall in the overall lessons. But otherwise, I would just say, like, if someone is like, don't, again, probably what you said, don't think that if you go to this stage, you need to put a medal on yourself that for going to that stage. You actually have to put a medal of that was stupid of myself on yourself if you do it. I would consider it this way. I really think that what I did and what I ended up getting into was plain and simple stupid. I didn't want to. I don't. If I achieve that again, I don't know. Like I wouldn't. I would not. But again, don't try to get to this point. It doesn't make sense.
Great. Thank you so much for being our guest tonight, and thanks for anyone watching. I'm getting a bit tired, but as always, if you find this video helpful, please don't just be passively entertained by it, but rather use it, share it, like it, comment, or send it to somebody who can will find it helpful. More information about Bobby is in the description below. You can reach out, you can follow him on social media.
Sure.
Follow 356 Labs also, and present to succeed. And see you next time. Bye.
Bye.